welcome everyone to this ninth session of the book Thought and Life. We're coming almost to an end, but it's never an end, it's a beginning, because we have to put in practice what we have learned thus far, and we have these 3 chapters that we will be working together tonight, and 3 more chapters to come. We haven't decided yet what we will do with the 3 last chapters because they're pretty intense, but perhaps we'll think about that another time. Tonight, we will be talking about tolerance, prayer, and obsession. We would like to say that as much that as we are trying to, thank you, this one is better, has a bunch of markings. As much as we try to work in these chapters separately, Emmanuel keeps us throwing us back to the older, the chapters that we have studied, and we see that they work together, much like the natural laws that we study, and we see that they work together. The same thing happens to these chapters. But we would like also to say that, if anything, one of the interesting things that we found studying this chapter is that these 3 chapters in particular, they are type of pill that we can take to avoid problems. If we are already in the problem, we can read it and it can help us. If we're too deep into it, I'm glad that you're here. Because we're talking about tolerance, we're talking about prayer, and we're talking about obsession. It will get a little bit tougher because in the next 3 chapters we'll talk about illness, death, and love. And they do work together, believe it or not. And they are also a consequence, not a consequence, but a continuation to these chapters that we have studied, as we just have mentioned. But they are this active pill that we can read it and help us. So we will work them on these 3 chapters separately, but we want to also kind of bridge them together. And you will see how they make sense towards the end of obsession and when we study obsession. We will not we're not going to go deeper into the idea of prayer. We have a good understanding what prayer is. We'll kind of just brush it off a little bit on the idea of what prayer is and what prayer means in Spiritism, as well as what obsession is, because Emmanuel brings a different aspect. As if we are, we go to school and we sit in that chair all the time, and then all of a sudden, the professor, the teacher takes you and puts you in another corner, right? And you see things from a different perspective. You see things differently that perhaps you couldn't see it before. And this is how I felt. Perhaps when I read this, I was like, never thought about on that way. So tolerance. We are in a planet right now that we all need tolerance, right? When I ask you, just think of someone or a situation that you were involved with that you saw tolerance, or that you felt tolerance, that you felt that you were tolerated. I know this last sentence doesn't go so well, right? When we are tolerated. Some people may think that, wow, I'm being tolerated, right? Or somebody has tolerance towards me. It's strange, but think about it. What does this mean to you? Don't have to answer, it's a rhetorical question, but it's important for us to think about it, right? Perhaps a elderly individual, a grandfather, grandmother, or someone who was wise enough, or someone at work who helped you, or a family member, whoever, someone even on the street who was tolerant enough that perhaps other people would never be as tolerant as an individual. Think about that and bring that to your hearts, because that perhaps can help you later on. So tolerance, that's the first chapter of this session 9. Going to the Learner's Dictionary, and you see here that I didn't go to the Merriam-Webster or whatnot, because tolerance has different meanings and we get confused, and we'll see a little bit on the confusions that we have because we would like to kind of make note of that as well. But based on the Learner's Dictionary, tolerance is the willingness to accept feelings, habits, or beliefs that are different from your own. Say it again. Tolerance is the willingness to accept feelings, habits, or beliefs that are different from your own. Do we agree with every single thing that is around us? It's tough, isn't it? Look at the title. Look what I did to the title. And this is something just to show, when I put these letters together, every font is different. They're different. They're all different. And some of them are lowercase, some of them are uppercase. It's a small thing. But if I were just to put that out there, and nobody knew that we were talking about tolerance, you would look at it and say, that's strange. But that's a T, that's not C, right? They're different. And believe me, it bugs me because I like things to be symmetrical, right? The same, and it really catches our eyes. When I put that, when you saw that at first, it worked, didn't it? But this is what we're working. Because the A is like, well, look at the R. But is it doing its job? That's a T. That's a T. Right? It goes, it's just a T. It's a T, I know. But it's doing its job, isn't it? Isn't it? But this is exactly, are you tolerant enough now that I explained? Yaska's like, no, it's still bothering me. It's okay. But this is what we're trying to get to. I'm glad that it's working because it worked for me. When I saw, I was like, let's play with the words here. Let's play with what we know and what we can do with it. And we see this day in and day out in our lives. And what we do, we push it away, right? We treat it not so well because we see these differences in our lives. This is a beautiful, I wish I could make it. Luciana, can you turn off the light? There is a website called tolerance.org. It's a really, really interesting website. It doesn't only talk about tolerance. They take tolerance and they broaden the term of tolerance in different ways. There are booklets that you can read. There are works that you can do to build tolerance. It's really, really interesting. So please explore. It is a guide, yes. So these are paintings that they offer that you can download actually. And over here, by Helen Keller. Everybody knows who Helen Keller is, okay? The highest result of education is tolerance. It's a little bit distorted. Here on the computer, you can see it better. But I wanted to bring this, and we'll see one more picture from the website to kind of illustrate what this idea is, right? So it's education. It's something that you build up. It's something that you have to climb to get there, right? And then Emmanuel comes and says, tolerance is the foundation of all true progress. Just as all parts of a machine work together so that there may be production of a certain benefit, so all blessings of nature are a series of manifestations of this blessed virtue that inspires true brotherhood. So it's everywhere. It's everywhere. We see the trees dealing with the environment. We can take in consideration a bamboo tree, right? How it moves and it never breaks, right? With the wind, with the harsh weather. We see the different variations of trees that, that just live in the element, and the animals as well. And everything follows a pattern. Everything follows as obedient as possible to the environment. Thank you. And how how they evolve as well, and how we evolve. But now that we have our choices and ways to change things, we tend to manipulate. But we'll see a little bit more of that later on. Irina Bokova is a Bulgarian politician and she was the Director General of UNESCO from